Let's go to the questions.
This first one was sent in via email to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Charlie in Starkville, Mississippi. Several people sent in this question. Let's read this version of it. What do you think of WWE's move to run NXT opposite of AEW? Do you think it helps or hurts putting developmental guys on a 2-hour live TV show?
Well, first of all, at this point, are the guys that are going to be on their TV show still developmental guys?
There are developmental guys there, but they sign up every indie guy they can, and those are usually the guys you see on TV.
Well, yes. In OVW, when we did Ohio Valley Wrestling Television, that was a developmental territory television. It was obviously local TV. It was low budget, but I think we actually, if people knew how little we actually spent, they'd be amazed we got it on the air, and it did great ratings, and we had sponsors. But nevertheless, but a lot of those guys were on television for the first time. A lot of those guys were actually working in front of people for the first time. So that was a developmental television. It just had the best booking in the business at the time. But NXT now, no, as you said, they've signed up, whether it be the best independent guys, maybe some of them haven't had a lot of experience on television, but they've all done video now because any schlub can do video. It's, 20 years ago, you needed television cameras. Now everybody's got a phone. So the level of experience is different. And they're not going to be taking the guys that they've just put in wrestling school from scratch and putting them on this program, I would think, from day one, without them earning somewhat similar to, but on a larger scale, what I did in OVW, where the guys that came in the amateur class, that's all they did. Then they progressed to the flea market shows and live events in front of some people at the church gym, but they still couldn't be on TV. And then when they got a little better, then they were on TV but doing jobs. And then if they got better than that, they got pushes with gimmicks. You're not going to see the first 2 phases of that of the NXT guys on the NXT Wednesday night show on fucking USA, correct?
Yeah, USA.
Yeah, okay.
Originally, the rumor was it was going to be on Fox Sports 1, but instead they're on USA, which is obviously a much, much stronger channel and direct competition with TNT.
And so this is basically, it's going to be the counter programming that the WWF can do to a young, hip promotion. Their version of NXT is high on in-ring, and we've talked about they've had great matches on NXT before. Nobody pays attention because I put them over, but that's going to be their counter programming to the fucking combination of work rate wrestling, as they call it these days, and the cosplay wrestlers that apparently the college kids like, because they're all goofy. I don't fucking know, that they're going to give them on TNT.
2 questions for you, Jim. One, is it at all a surprise that Vince McMahon would do this, run opposition directly against them? And 2, what do you think it says that it's not a main roster show that they're programming against AEW, that it is NXT?
Well, they're smart enough to know that if they programmed Raw against AEW, they would actually be creating another Monday Night War. Because not only would they be saying that we consider AEW equivalent to our main brand, but also the people that watch Raw would continue to watch Raw because that's what they like. And the people that are going to watch All Elite would watch that because they specifically don't like Raw. Even though when you think about it, if Vince did as many stupid fucking goofy things as these outlaw cosplay fucking bastards at All Elite have done over their careers with the Invisible Men and the fucking all the other shit, they'd crucify Vince for the same thing. Anyway, but also that's why I'm saying it's not the product. Raw is completely different than what they're going to be doing on TNT. We know that much. So they would each have their own audience. But if they put NXT opposite All Elite, for the reasons I just mentioned, it's more likely to be similar fan base or similar. They feel like that's the counter programming. So it works because it's their secondary show, but also it's more effective against what they're going to be doing on TNT.
So let me ask it to you this way. because we've done so much talking about AEW. Everyone hears the criticism. They don't hear any of the things you say about how they can improve themselves. If you were an executive with AEW right now, how do you combat this? Knowing that before your first show debuts, you are going to have competition with a 2-week lead-in advantage in NXT. How do you combat that, knowing that the WWE is going to be programming against you?
Well, I would have already signed a bunch of different fucking wrestlers and given them probably a different assessment of the product that we were going to be doing. So I don't know if they'd have made the same fucking decision. But right now, they got to do the same thing they did. They've got to make some stars, and they've got to concentrate on shit that will get over to a wider audience. And their matches not only have to be better, but have to be more emotional. Because that's one thing that NXT still, you know, who's the guy with no facial expression? And everybody, Johnny Gargano.
Yeah.
If the NXT style is known for the Johnny Garganos that have the great matches with no facial expression and there's no emotion, you know, they both of those shows need somebody to break out by snatching everybody by the fucking balls, and not in a hardcore wrestling way, but in a Stone Cold Steve Austin personality way. Somebody needs to go out and get over on one of those two programs.
When you were an executive with WWF during the Monday Night Wars, that period where you were still before you left and went back to Louisville and left the booking committee, did you guys talk about it? Because I don't remember what the numbers were. Did a lot of the audience switch back and forth during Raw Live between Raw and Nitro? Did you guys have any conversations about that?
Oh God, what? Yeah, that's what they were always. I had as few as possible because it made me fucking ill to my stomach. Because that was Russo's whole thing also. They're going to be switching back and forth. And then at first they did. And then when WCW started trailing down, they did less and less. The opposite of Mr. Brownstone. A little got more and more, a little got less and less. They stopped switching back and forth and we're just watching Raw. But that's the TV folks were always worried about that. But it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I always thought the better shows over a longer period of time will win this thing. But at the same time, the TV people, the network people were always freaking out over numbers like that too. So that's probably why the wrestling people started freaking out over numbers like that.
Bring up Mr. Brownstone. Is Jim Cornette a Guns N' Roses fan?
No, I just thought that line was cute.
Okay. So you don't like Guns N' Roses?
Well, now, when did you stop beating your wife, Mr. Cornette? I didn't say I didn't like Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses would not be in my pantheon of all-time great rock and roll performers, but neither would I expectorate on them like a drunk bum laying in the gutter.